I need to talk to you about something.
You're a liar, a thief, a lowlife.
I'm a professional. I made some bad decisions. I'm sorry. I want to make it up to you.
You all of a sudden want my forgiveness? Is that it? What's that, your laundry?
Open it.
Dad, you're scaring me.
You call me Dad. Do you know how to use a gun?
What's up, people? I am Brian Reveals, and I'm so excited to present to you the cast and crew of Sick Money, streaming right here on the Dynamite Network. Sick Money follows the story of a young, struggling mother who reunites with her estranged criminal father after many years. She discovers that, there's an opportunity to make quite a bit of cash. However, she has to risk her life and limb to earn it. During this powerful encounter, old family wounds are reopened in the heat of inevitable danger. And now let's meet the cast and crew of Sick Money. Meet Kathleen Shakeen, director of Sick Money, Oscar Jordan, who's a writer, actor, as well as a producer, starring as Lorenzo Savage, and Keisha Ramdani as Veronica Savage. Everybody welcome and give yourself a round of applause. This is an incredible film. All the viewers who have watched this film rave about how intense this movie is. Kathleen, what is it about this project that drew you in? And what would you say is the most pivotal thing about the script that you connected with?
Well, one was, we don't see as often films about fathers and daughters, I feel like. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't recall any right off the top of my head, as much as we would see father and son films or mother and daughter films. So that was part of the dynamic I liked. And even though the father here tries to con his daughter, none of those things really work, And I think it's finally his vulnerability that makes her choose and care about him. The other thing that I thought was really important was, to make sure that we got some humor in there, because it is really intense. And so I knew that we had to break it up a little bit, so that we're not all just gritting our teeth the whole way through, that we let the audience breathe a little. But I really love that it was a father and a daughter, and that they're both damaged people. And perhaps maybe she understands some of the con artist, the feel of that, or recognizes it, and it doesn't work on her because she's seen it before. Maybe from him, maybe from other parts of her life. But I really like that it was finally, I believe, the vulnerability of in the relationship that makes her not leave the room.
Now, you mentioned, of course, this is an African-American story, African-American characters, right? What is it about an African-American storyline that drew you in, and what you were able to tell such a nuanced story with the family dynamic?
Well, mainly Oscar and his vision, because it's Oscar's baby and Oscar's vision. And I was honored to have him ask me to direct him. Because at first I thought, it's a Black film with Black characters. And I asked him, I said, don't you think maybe you want to have somebody who's Black direct it for you? And he said, I want you to direct it for me. And so I was like, well, it's yours and you know it. And so if you have that confidence in me, I'm sure you'll let me know when I might go astray. So I was thrilled because it's really tight. It's a really tight story. It's really fun. And I also love the 70s kind of genre of the atmosphere and the setting. I kind of like that throwback.
Absolutely. And the dynamic between both characters is so riveting. It's so hard to look away, right? This is a very impressive film. Okay, so Oscar, when you were writing the script for this film, what were some of the main takeaways that you wanted to capture between the father and daughter dynamic coming together again? When you think about what's going to happen next, considering there's so much intensity in the film, what were some of the things that you wanted to incorporate?
Well, there was a million ideas from the bells and whistles and the look and the texture and the dialogue, but you know, the heart and soul of it is really about making amends and regret and trying to you know, someone who has lived his life by his own rules and then is coming toward the end of his life and they say, oops. and I say, well, I have to fix this before it's too late. And then to try to use his skill set as a con man to get his daughter to let him help her. And she has every reason. And, you know, Kathleen and I come from drama school and we understand screenplays and theater and drama and conflict. And, you know, that's what makes the world want to see drama is conflict. And so she had to hate me. She had to hate me for a really good reason. I had to want her to not hate me for a really good reason. And that's what makes good drama.
Okay, so Kathleen, when you think about estranged relationships between, the two characters, what were some of the things that you wanted to capture to ensure that the story transcends race, and this is a story that anyone can relate to?
In addition to that, it's a family story. It's a relationship between a father and a daughter, and I knew that I understood it and could direct that part of it. So I knew if there were anything that I might be missing that is African American centric, that Oscar was right there and Keisha was right there to direct it that way, or to say when things felt false. And that's mainly I relied on them and their relationship that they built together to pretty much drive the story. And my job mainly, I think Oscar was rhythm, and just making sure that it moved, because it was a 2-person story and it was all in one place. And we just wanted to make sure that we kept everybody's interest. And it wasn't an interesting story, but we don't have a lot of action. We don't have a lot of running around and moving around in the film. So I wanted to make sure that we kept that pacing going and we kept the energy up so that people would stay engaged all the way through.
Okay, Keisha, you brought so much authenticity to the role of Veronica. What were some of the things that you did to draw inspiration to the character? Because you brought a lot of restraint, but you use a lot of tonality in this role as well. Can you share where you drew your inspiration from?
Well, I was thinking that I've never seen a father and daughter like fight, like yell at each other in real life. As far as Black families, that I've never seen that. So I love that Oscar and Kathleen kept it like real. Like Black people don't scream at each other like that. We respect each other, and if we have something to say, we'll say it just as how us. Lorenzo and Veronica are speaking to each other. So that there's that level of, I really want to curse you out. I really want to scream, but I can't. We're in public. We're at a restaurant. There's people around. So I thought about what I would do in real life. And so I feel like that's where the authentic tone came from.
Okay, so Oscar, in terms of the story itself, walk us through what was your process in creating this story? What inspired you?
That's a very good question. Let's see. Well, first I have to say one thing, because I have to jump off of what Kathleen said. I knew that I made the right decision when I brought her aboard, because when you're writing and you're wearing a lot of hats, there's a tendency to be very myopic. And I knew that the way the scene rolled, it was going to be this very intense and one note. And I knew I was smart enough to say, number one, I don't want to be trapped in the past where I'm kind of like mimicking film noir. I mean, that's in there, but I didn't want to, in art, you always have to evolve out of it. You can't just copy something that you love. You have to bring yourself to it and set it. And so Kathleen she kept saying, where's the love? And that made me, because we rehearsed before we went to the location, and she says, where's the love, And the other thing is, I'm memorizing all of this and trying to figure out what I wrote. And this was really surprising. We had a screening in Hollywood in front of a full audience, and there was at least 2 or 3 moments where people were laughing. And I'm like, wow, that's what I wanted. I mean, and the best humor is not played to be funny. It's played to be honest. And that's what they were laughing at. They were laughing at the honesty and the way, and, Kathleen plays the waitress. So she comes in at the total wrong time. And I told her during rehearsals, I said, we want to do the dialogue where you come in wherever you feel like it. Because, filmmaking is very contrived, and it's really hard to be spontaneous because everything has to be set up in camera angles, and you can't do this and you can't do that. But I wanted some sense of theatricality to it where we were actually alive because this waitress is bugging us, and coming in at the wrong time. And so she did exactly that, and she brought a lot of the humor and the love and the connection as that came out of the scene, and it gave us a wider view of the script itself. And but my original inspiration for the role was in my age group, I'm either playing authority figures or dads. I played Keisha's dad earlier this year, and I would go to a lot of auditions. I'd read a lot of screenplays, and a lot of these screenplays were from young writers who were using the screenplay as therapy to get back at their dads or their moms, and they're babbling, why did you leave me at the festival? Why didn't you buy me that for Christmas? And why did you abandon? There's some issue that they are wrestling with. And I thought, that's a nice. And plus I love old film noir. I love stylized. I love cinema. I love movies to be movies and film to be film. And I don't care that it's real life. I want it to be realistic, but I don't care about real life. And so I wanted film noir. I'm a big fan of the movie Sin City, which is it's over the top visually, but they're dealing with real moments here. They're dealing with love and things, all these kind of issues. But the heart of it had to be realistic. And so I just put it into a bowl and put the blender in, and this is what we came up with.
This film is beautifully shot. It's shot in black and white. What do you think, shooting this movie in black and white, how does that connect with the viewers, and what would you say were some of the main takeaways from that?
Because it's stylized and it's realistic without being real. It's like a graphic novel almost. But I have to say, because I'm thinking back, because Keisha wasn't familiar with film noir, and that's my really origin, the film noir. And so I'm thinking of that visually, but there's a film that I'm a huge fan of called Detour. And it's about, I don't want to get into the story, but there's one scene, which is a 2-person scene where the protagonist picks up a hitchhiker, and she's just the meanest, and it's a 2-person scene, and they're going back and forth, the camera's going back and forth, and they're driving, and it's a fake scene because the car is not actually driving, it's on a set, and you see the scenery going behind them. But it is the most intense scene, and the woman is so wonderfully intense and mean, and she actually says it, I don't like you, and I want you to know, and it was just very visceral, and I wanted that feeling, and it's in black and white, and so I'm moved by that kind of thing, and I know it's not for everybody, but I'm making this movie for myself, and I'm hoping that other people like me will like it as well.
Okay. So, Oscar, what would you say the reception has been with the viewers, and how would you say people have been responding to the movie?
For me, well, I feel like everyone has whatever, as an artist, we all have to find our tribe, and our tribe are the people who just want to see what you do and the way you do it. And there's people outside the tribe who just, a lot of people just, it's not for them, and that's fine. But we're playing to the choir in the tribe, and they're going to get the most out of it because of the style and the intensity of it. But what I think it also has going for it is that it's a real story about two people trying to get over themselves and deal with each other, and that's humanity. That's universal.
Do you think that Veronica, if she played a son versus the daughter, do you think that would have a different impact? What would you say about that?
I'm a feminist from way back, so I just love that part of it, and that it's a surprise. It automatically tells you that this is not going to be what you're used to seeing, and it offers up some other surprises that could happen.
Well, and the other thing is, I just wanted to work with Keisha again.
I wanted to work with you too. So it's perfect.
Okay, so question to the panel. What would you say the main takeaway is from this film? And what would you say audiences want? What's next? How do you tell that story?
I feel like people always want to know what happens next. Yeah. People want to know what happens next. What do we do with the money? What do we do with the cocaine? Do I take it? People have lots of questions about it and are interested and excited about it. So that's what excites me. I'm ready for the next film, Oscar.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. That's what if on the movie poster on the EPK there's a review, and all it has is that one review. What's going to happen next? That's what it's, that, and I planned that. I did that on purpose, and I knew that I wanted a cliffhanger. When I was a little kid, I used to watch the old Flash Gordon movies, and at the end of every little 15-minute episode, somebody would be hanging off a cliff, or tied to a train tracks, or falling out of an airplane, and then they'd go, tune in next week and find out. What? I gotta wait a whole week to find out, So it was the whole idea. It's the cliffhanger, and I did that on purpose. And I knew they would say, "What? Where's the rest of it? I want to." And so here we are, and it worked. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, I feel like people get really invested because of the story, the dynamic between the father and the daughter. Whether you have a good relationship with your parents or a bad one, I feel like anyone can relate to this. So I feel like that's what people are really drawn to.
I loved it too, that it was just so. My favorite thing is that he's making amends to her, and he's going to make it all up to her by putting her life in danger and taking cocaine and going across the country for what it ended up being $300,000 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 200,000 or something like that.
That it's going to make up for all his wrongs, and even his amends are messed up. Because it's just who he is, and he's sincere about that. I just love that.
I thought it was funny. We were at the film festival in Hollywood, and people were asking questions, and somebody, I forgot what the question was, but I said, well, I'm trying to help my daughter. I'm trying to save her. because her circumstances are dire, and I can help her. And then the guy in the audience says, "What? We're giving her $200,000 of cocaine and putting her life in danger?"
Yep.
And I go, "Well, you're looking at it the wrong way."
You gotta see it from my perspective.
Someone in that Virginia Beach live chat, one of my favorite lines in the movie, which every once in a while somebody will quote, is, well, there's a line in the movie about the randomness of misfortune, and I love that line. Because we all have to deal with the unforeseen bad luck that comes out of nowhere. Sometimes we can all make the best decisions in the world and make the greatest choices, but sometimes a safe falls from the sky and it hits right on top of your head, and you have to deal with it. And in my mind, or Lorenzo's mind, I didn't want her to just be victim of a random misfortune where you're going to be a stripper for the rest of your life, and you're going to raise a son by yourself, and you're going to have Armenian landlords coming after money, and and the more money you have, the more fortune you could have. I guess that's the moral of giving her the opportunity to get out of her situation.
Okay, so now that the film is being streamed right here on the Dynamite Network, and it's also being shown at film festivals, what would you say the main reception has been from the viewers and the audiences, right? Seeing it live, how's the response been?
The people whose interest is piqued are folks that don't just want the run of the mill, that they want something a little more interesting, a little more outside the box, maybe. But it still has a familiarity to it, That was the other part of the story that I really loved, is that it can become in another life, or if the story carried on, it's a road story, and it's also a buddy movie, except it's a father and a daughter, and instead of a buddy cop movie, or I just love all those things that Oscar took and then leveled up on them, just by sticking a daughter in there instead of a son. That was one of my favorite things about it.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much. This was an incredible opportunity to have a conversation with the cast. Thank you. You can find it right here on the Dynamite Network, and so much more to come.